Dining and Doodles. I see I did not do the opening here. There we are. Got a little preview of what we're doing today. This is, of course, our regular weekly drawing stream. This week we had a request to draw Appmon from Gatchaman. I was not familiar with the series. I'm still not quite familiar with the series. But we're going to try and draw him anyways. We found him online. And he should be an interesting one. Today I did not do a sketch for him. So we're going to do this from 100% scratch. So we're going to see how we do and get on down to it. As always, this stream is sponsored by Built Bar. So let's get on down to the drawing. And here we have it. This is Appmon right here in the corner. I have two little representations of him to get an idea of his body. He's rather a cute little devilish, impish kind of character. It looks like he's got sort of a mining helmet / motorcycle helmet with one monocle. It's definitely a marketable character. Let's put it that way. And you'll have to excuse me, I have a little bit of a nasal congestion right now. This request, of course, came in live about 2 weeks ago on our live stream. So this is another request. If you have a request, we are happy to take it. You can leave a comment below, or you can message in the comments or the chat while we're streaming, or you can even go through and make a request on our social media, and we will be glad to add it to the list. So right now, I'm just going to do sort of a skeletal situation with his body. He's not a traditional cartoon character where you're going to be doing multiple heads. He looks like he's about 2 heads high. If you were going by the rules of the heads. So his head is here, his body's here, about the same size as his head. So we're going to treat it like that. I'm just going to kind of give a feel for how I want to have his body. And then I'm going to do his hand here. He's got 3 fingers. I'm going to kind of do his leg up with his foot. It's almost like, kind of like the drawing up there, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. So, I'm going to have his foot going down, so make him sort of have like a knee moment, kind of kicking. And have his other foot down here. Like here. And then it looks like he has a tail that comes around and is round. Like that. His head's segmented. His helmet comes in like this. To his hand here. And bring his claw on over this way. And his strap. His big monocle. His helmet. And the spikes on his helmet. Like that. And the straps are going to go flying around like here. So it doesn't take much to do sort of a quick sketch. Let's get the eye in here. He's got a little cute nose and sort of an animal mouth, so it sort of goes up in the center. And he's kind of got a little hanger over his mouth there. And he's got one there. The trick is going to be getting this monocle, but we have ways to do that. Simply because drawing circles, well, his hands are also going to have the circles to note. So, I mean, he's going to have one sort of metal going here, limb, and same with the metal circle here. And same with his hands, so it's going to be sort of a split here. And let's see here. Darkness goes from here to here, so we need to make sure we focus that. And his face kind of goes up and curl. Let's see his fingers. Well, his fingers are claws, so we're gonna sharpen them up. Like that. And it's sort of circle. So just sort of dome that. So I'm not familiar with this series. And it looks relatively, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, well, it's a Digimon. It's like, no. It's similar. And I mean, I remember watching Digimon in my college years, because I'm that old. To where it was on while I was doing college work. So, I mean, I would sit there and I'd be doing my artwork for college, for my art classes. And I'd study it with Digimon in the background occasionally, especially if I was home doing work. I'd be sitting there and have Digimon on in the background, and I got into it. I mean, it was a good series. Gachamon, I mean, I'd probably give it a chance to look at it. I just don't know where it's on. Because I mean, I don't object to any of them. I love anime. I always love watching some of it. Making my way through a few series right now. Of course, we do a monthly stream with Septum Sim versus the World that I've started joining in, and we did Corpse Princess review Monday. So this past Monday we did that. It was my first time really watching into that series, and I mean it was a good one. It was a fair anime, and it's not. I'm gonna be like astounded, and this is going to be something mind breaking type anime, and that's what I kind of get with these sort of Mon animes, Pokemon, Digimon, and I'm guessing Gachamon. I mean, I will recognize Pokemon and Digimon as, great gateway anime, and Pokemon for sort of introducing the pocket monster, the that type of anime. So I mean, I will definitely acknowledge that. They're not going to be like anything I'm going to write home about. Yes, they're a great. James was a great character in Pokemon to troll the audience and times. Well, be it just a troll in general of the show. And I mean, I have both Digimon and Pokemon stuffed animals over in my, actually sitting about 5 feet from me as I draw this. So I mean, I'm not objective to the cute anime, children's sort of marketing anime that is the Mons. But I do enjoy story-driven anime. Out of all the series, of course, yeah, I do like One Piece. People groan and be like, "Oh, how you like story anime, but how could you get in One Piece?" One Piece is a very, very in-depth story. If you actually give it a chance. Um, if you don't, you'll never really get onto it. A lot of people right now are poo-pooing the fact that the Netflix live action's going underway. I have mixed feelings with that. I do feel that it can be done right, and the fact that Oda himself is involved, that the writers involved are actually huge One Piece fans, and they, from what I've heard, they're going to be treating the script genuine. It's going to come down to the director and to how much Netflix comes in and gets involved. That kind of screws that pooch. Um, the post production, I have no doubts, is going the right way. Versus the Netflix look at Cowboy Bebop, having learned that the director was not that. I'm trying to remember his name right now. That Nabashin is not involved. Let's just use his nickname. He was the director and one of the creators of the series, and they were not involved in Cowboy Bebop. I don't have much hope for Cowboy Bebop. I don't think it's going to be as big of a success. Sci-fi usually is a great hit or miss in television. So, I mean, and it misses a lot more than it hits. I'll give it that much. It's going to be very dependent upon how well the script is done and how well the story is done, and then how well they act it. I mean, Cho, I have no doubt can do a good job as Spike. The others, I have no clue about. And at least it's not Keanu Reeves as Spike, which is what was originally going to be. So, I mean, when the concept came out for a live action. Not that I have any problem with Keanu Reeves, I just don't think his acting is appropriate for an Asian kung fu gunslinger. Sorry. But that's one case of whitewashing that I would not want to see. Okay, so let's see here. His foot's kind of like this. I don't even know why my nose is running all of a sudden. I guess it's the allergy season. It's ragweed season where I live, and I am, of course, allergic to, well, everything in this world, apparently. I don't get a break from allergies until cold and flu season, so. Let's see here. Let's draw. This foot. There. And is there any anime coming up that I want to see? I mean, there are a couple in this fall season, and then later in the winter season, I do want to see. Of course, I've been reading Shield Hero, as well as Konosuba, and I want to see both of those. I don't know what's coming out with Konosuba. As of late, I don't know if they announced a season 3 or if it was just for the app that they were coming out with that they announced. But Shield Hero is season 3 is I think coming in the winter because it's not on the fall docket. I don't believe. But we will see there. That is one I do want to see. It's coming into a very notable part of the series. It's a bit different than the anime last time around. So it'll be interesting to see, and it's 2 seasons of that coming. There could be some other series coming up. Trying to think what else is coming out in the fall that I'm interested in seeing Spy Family, but I don't think that's coming out. Chainsaw Man I'll probably watch. It is an unusual manga, I will say that much. I loved it from what I read, but at the same time it was a very sort of graphically heavy series. I'm going to be interested to see how well it gets animated. Because of animation can either come out really good or really bad depending on the details, and if you have a lot of detail, you got to spend a lot of money on good artists to draw it, or else you're going to get in a really bad place. All right, we have our sketch to work from. So let's actually get to inking this sketch out. I'm going to go to a 20 pen. I always like to use the G pen here in ClickPaint Studio, mainly because it allows me to get that kind of treatment in a line. If I went with a thicker pen, say like a 40 or 50, I can go down to really depending on the width of the thing. And actually, 20 pen is good for comic work. But let's go with a thicker pen on this one because it is a Mon, and Mons tend to have thicker lines, especially around the eyes here. Let's get him around those eyes. Let's use a thicker pen. So we want to do that again with the eyeballs. Let's move it in here. And see, I'm being a bit rough here. Let's see. No. And we'll do his little tip here. He kind of, looking at him, he kind of reminds me of another anime from the 90s that did come into the States but had a really bad time slot, but was cutesy. And he kind of reminds me of the character designs for Samurai Pizza Cats. If you didn't watch it, it was a weird kids show that literally was about cats that were samurais that had sort of almost these mechanized bodies. And he kind of looks like that, the way they looked. So I wouldn't be surprised if the animation studio is the same as them. Or maybe even the artist is the same. And I remember watching that one because it was when I got up from high school, my senior year in high school, they had Sailor Moon on, and additionally, they had Samurai Pizza Cats. And I would watch Samurai Pizza Cats, I think, after Sailor Moon. So, I mean, these were like the early morning cartoons. These were, most kids aren't up to watch these cartoons. Because I was up at 5:30 to watch Sailor Moon. In the morning. And let's go back to the 20. Let's see here. And of course, I always like to do these. I'm going to give them a shout out. This is Clip Paint Studio EX. They are probably the pinnacle in comic and animation. Well, I'd say comic more than animation. Drawing 2D animation, if you do 2D animation, I guess it'd probably be good. But they're good for this sort of pen interaction. Photoshop's okay, but Photoshop is more for graphics and for photos than, say, drawing. So a drawing, this is more of a drawing program versus Photoshop. And I mean, that's a lot of people will be like, no, 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 no. Photoshop, you can absolutely do drawing. But when you actually get down to it and try and break down how easy it is to draw, Clip Paint is by far, far easier and far more natural than Photoshop comes out. Now, I mean, I haven't tried the way Photoshop is now, but I still don't think they've done it right. And it's just certain sort of personal tastes. I've used Photoshop well over the years. I, of course, was trained on Photoshop back in the day when it was still early Photoshop. So, I mean, I think I started on Photoshop 3 when I was in college. And they got up to Photoshop 6 when I left college. But another thing to like about Clip Paint is they tend to have sales. If you can't afford it now, wait a few weeks and they may have a big sale. I mean, I got this version, I believe, when it was 75% off, and it just came out. But, well, actually, no, I didn't get this version at 75. I got the other version at 75. This version I got when it came out, so I did pay full price, but I was expecting it. I enjoyed the last version of Clip Paint Studio, so I was like, I'm going to definitely get the next version. And so I did. Now I'm doing his little monocle piece, and I'm going and just doing circles using the circle tool. And I'm going to come over here and erase right along that line. Just a hair. So we have the monocle made. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a color. Normally I wouldn't, but I'd wait, but I want to go ahead and sort of give an identity to it so I know where I'm working. And yeah, see, that's off, so I don't want to do that. So let's see. Let's actually make it a 10. That way I can see the line a bit better. So there's that. And let's go a little further in. That's too far in. Well, let's do that. Circle in. All right, we're going to just, instead of the eraser, I'm going to use the pen tool and a clear and just sort of trace that line best I can. I'll go back to the pen tool. And I'll put the strap actually this way because it doesn't look like his face really ends there. So there we go. And we do this on over. Come on. Then we'll do his undercollar next. Let's finish his face part here. Well, actually, let's deal the chin a little bit better. So we're going back. I'll do the strap like I did, so a little thicker. There we go. Okay, and this looks like it's a little ear cuff here. And a little piece that sticks up here. There we go. Let's go ahead and give his pupils lined out. Now we'll do his undercuff, which is this little piece right here. And we'll do this bit here. Well, let's do that with line tools. Since it goes into the helmet, let's also put it at 10. Try to keep a uniformity in measurement of the line. So this is the curved line tool, which I think is probably one of the best little tools that Clip Paint has that most others don't really treat it well. They go about and do segments instead of just doing a line that you can bring to a curve and you can sort of mimic it. And that's the difference between Photoshop and clip paint that I really like. I can set up, basically, if I'm doing something like a background and I want to have some curve in the building, of the perspective, I can easily get that curve this way instead of spending 5 to 10 minutes trying to line up a curve properly. In Photoshop. Now let's go ahead and bring this to the helmet around. And that's a little too close, so let's bring that on up. We'll bring this over because we want to kind of give the hint of the roundness of the horn, but we don't want to give a full roundness to the horn. Well, let's see. A little too far there. Let's go up to here. And then we'll finish that line down to here. I might do the same with the segment or with this tool on the fingers and hands since they're metal. So they've got to be a little bit more segmented line. But I'm also going to do the same with, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah, that's not going to look right. I'm going to do the same with sort of the blue here, so I need to change to, when I do the color, I'm going to do the same with the line tool there. Now, let's do part of the hand. Another reason I like Clip Paint Studio, it is a professional tool by manga users these days. If you want to do what they use or have what they use, it is manga or Clip Paint Studio. A lot of them use it. Some still use Photoshop, which I believe Oda uses Photoshop still, but there are some that still or that will use Clip Paint Studio because it is a great tool to set up and align your pages so you can see your work as you work. And you can break down the pages. You can add your sort of sketch or what is it? You can add your work in progress as you work to it, and then work from there, directly from there. Your sketches, your storyboards. That's what I'm trying to think of. I don't know why it's skipping my head. I want to kind of change the way that finger is because I want it to kind of come over that. And let's see here. We're going to do curve a little bit in the thumb. It's always interesting to try and do these non-human-eyed characters, the Mons in this sense. They're unique, they're very artistic, and it's a combination usually of folklore, animal, machine that drive their look. Very much animal for Pokemon, in the most often. Although there is some Pokemon, of course, that are not animal at all. Of course, Vanillish is the most hated, I think, of the quote, uncreative from people. But I mean, honestly, when you're at almost 1,000 of these creatures, you're gonna, draw some crappy ones from then and there. You're not gonna be able to come up with the most creative ideas at times. You'll come up with something that, I mean, honestly, look at Ditto. Ditto is beloved, but at the same time, it's a blob. It's a blob with 2 dots and a very stupid looking smile. Not to be hating on Ditto, because Ditto, of course, is the most useful thing in the games to have, because it allows you to create other Pokemon very, very easily. It is the baby factory of Pokemon. And yeah, I do play Pokemon. I've not played it in a few months, but I do have Sword and Shield. I've played it since Blue, and Red and Blue. I had Blue. I still have my copy of Blue. I bought it in 1996, and I played it in between as one of the things that killed time in between my college year. I would sit there and I would play the Pokemon games. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is enjoyable. I would go through batteries like crazy. Because there were times I'd usually have 3 to 4 hours between classes at college. I'd be at college 7 in the morning till about 1 in the morning. And my latest class was a scuba class, ironically. So, I mean, I took that. I'm going to do a little bark. Whew! Excuse me. Knew that was coming. Kind of needed it. Back to the story. Trying to hold it back another one. Hold on. Ooh. Something's triggering me. Yeah, I would go through batteries like crazy, and I remember for years trying to play a Game Boy when there was no light. Just trying to be like, oh, well, let me see if I can actually see what the heck I'm doing in a game. And that's why I kind of liked Pokemon, is it wasn't as screw you at, say, another game I had, which was the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back Game Boy game. You couldn't see anything in that Star Wars game. You could not see what was coming at you. Um, it was a pain. At least with Pokemon, I could see things. And I think, I mean, you talk down to the failures of gaming, the quote unquote failure of the infamous Virtual Boy was because it was red and it hurt your eyes. It literally burned your eyes out while you were trying to play the thing. And Game Boy wasn't that much better, honestly. I mean, you're talking an unlit black and white screen that if you got in the wrong light, there was no telling what the hell was coming at you. And that sucked at times. It really did. And I think, I mean, I give Nintendo credit. It was a great, one of the, I think, the best advertisements for the product to me was back in Desert Storm, which is 91. They had one of the troopers had taken a Game Boy with them out into the desert. It had taken a flamethrower to the Game Boy or caught fire or something like that. The thing was a Blackened Char, and it still worked. And I think that's honestly one of the pinnacles that sold me over, say, the Sega Genesis at the time, which had color. Or the not the what did they call it? The Neo Geo or whatever. It was the Pocket Sega Genesis. Because here's something that you had it in combat. Take a hit and it still worked. That's the freaking scary thing. And I mean, Nintendo appropriately advertised it in their Nintendo magazine. And they were like, here's the Game Boy. It was burnt to a crisp, but you could still play Tetris. I think Tetris was like permanently melted into the system, but it still played. And I mean, that was one of the things that growing up helped me decide on Nintendos for a while. Was not only what the system played, but how it could take up abuse at times. Because I'm going to carry around a Game Boy forever, and that's what I've done. I still have my original Game Boy. I took that thing with me pretty much everywhere I went through, with the exception of high school, because high school they did, sort of make it bad to take in. But in college, I took it. I had it on me in college just to kill time. When I wasn't writing fan fiction or working on a school paper, which was rare because most of my classes were art-based. I would spend time either doing artwork, working in our school labs, or playing on a Game Boy. I was antisocial. I'm still antisocial. I was not the most come and hang out kind of person, even in college. Although for my 21st birthday, I had gotten involved with what was called a shout out party. I don't know if anybody's ever had one of these. It literally is people that stand on, a balcony or such of a building and shout for somebody to come on up. And ironically, this was in the summer because there was hardly anyone around at that time of year on college, because I'm born in July. And so they did a shout out, and it was like literally, come on up, have a few beers with us. And I think we stopped when we had a cop literally walk over the street, and we offered him, and it's like, he's like, I'm not gonna offer it, you just stop doing it, please. It's like, all right. But yeah, you just shout people up to come on up and have a few beers. I was there because I was taking summer classes just to try and fill out my roster, because I was also working while I was in college. So, I would spend about 3-4 hours at work, and then I would go to college, and particularly in my later years. And then eventually, I think my senior year, I started working for the school library, so I had to be there anyway for that. And I was working as the film restorer. I literally would go through the films of, all the way up to the start of film, and would restore them or slice and edit them, just so that they'd still work, so students could learn, so people could watch. And I remember the time I started doing that job was right as the movie Fight Club came out and talked about doing the very job that I was doing, and how it was Brad Pitt's character, who, spoiler, is not real. I believe his name's Tyler in the movie. But he would say he would splice together sex movie or porn movies and put them in with other movies. And yeah, I had sex ed films, and I had classic films, and I could easily have access and do it. Not saying if I did or didn't. But if anybody's listening, there may or may not be a few films where I've spliced together scenes from other films. Just like a second. And that's what he was talking about. It's literally like 2 to 3 panels which go by, and you're talking 30 frames per second. You're doing about 5 frames in that 30 seconds. So you just see that blink. You see that blink of that one moment. Not a good concept, but I went to go see Fight Club because I was in a cult film class at the time, and one of our jobs was or our homework for the year was to go and watch 20 movies and try to determine if they were cults or not. And I remember and this was the irony of it, I watched Pokemon, so going back to the Mons, I watched Pokemon the movie 2000, because this occurred in the year 99 to 2000. So I watched that, and I watched Fight Club at the same time. So I literally was there for a double feature that day. So going out of Pokemon, where all these kids are here and their parents are like, oh yeah, and then going in and watching Fight Club, and I think there was only 6 people in the room during that showing, because I was there in the morning on a Saturday, I think, and the Pokemon, of course, was busier than the Fight Club was in the early hours. And I mean, it wasn't the first time I've seen a movie. It was very sparse people, and it wasn't definitely one of the last. I remember, I think the first movie I can recall that I had a very sparse amount of people was Crocodile Dundee II. My brother and I went to go see it while we were vacationing over at a grandmother's, and they wanted to kind of get rid of us for a little bit, so they dropped us off to the movies, and that was one of the movies that was decent for us to watch. And I have to use air quotes, decent for us to watch, because I think the other one was not a very was like a rated R horror film or something, and this was a small town in North Carolina, um, that we were in, and I think it was just my brother and I and two girls, and that was it. And it was like a Saturday afternoon. But you're talking a movie theater that only had two viewings or theaters to watch movies. And yeah, I mean, that's that was a very empty theater. I definitely remember Fight Club being very empty. Um, I'm trying to remember which superhero. I think it probably was Scott Pilgrim versus the World, because that did not go over that well um, in theaters. I think going to see that with some friends, and we were pretty much, I think it was only two or three other groups there, um, watching that alone. And it was opening weekend, and I was like, what the hell? It's like, this looks like a great film. I don't know why other people aren't watching this. It's like, and I've watched some crappy films in theaters, and some I remember well, some I don't. I always like to go see anime films, if possible, um, when they're in the theaters. I remember I went to one of the only American showings of Mononoke when it first came out. Um, it first came out in towards my senior year, and actually, I can remember it vividly because it was the day my grandmother died. I'm not a fan of going into hospitals. I've been in hospitals. I've been hospitalized myself uh, a few times. Don't love it, but I needed to go in and watch this film for a college report. It was the first time a Ghibli film had made it to theaters in the U.S. in a regular sense, but it was still limited theaters. It wasn't grand theaters. This theater, literally, the place is now a grocery store. That it was a theater at the time, and the place, I think there was like 20 or 30 people, and all of them were anime fans. I could tell. By that point, I had already gone to conventions. Um, Something that I don't do anymore simply because I don't have the time or money to do it. Um, and well, conventions weren't available in the last year anyway. But yeah, I loved going and seeing it. It was a wonderful film to see, and it was a nice sort of difference because the second time I went to go see a Ghibli film, it was also in an artsy theater, but there were a lot of parents and kids that had taken it to it, and that was the first showing of Spirited Away. And what people don't know, Spirited Away had two different runs. Its first run, and then it had its second run, which was the more popular, where most people got the attention and whatnot. Its first run was strictly art theaters, So you had to go searching for it to go and see it. And being a Ghibli fan at that point, I went and go see it. Went to go see it, and it was probably one of the. Uh, if I were to rank Ghibli films, I probably would give Spirit Away the top spot. I mean, I do love Mononoke. Um, it has a good spot because it's a very different kind of film. I'm one of those few people who enjoyed Grave of the Fireflies. I It may make me sound a little bit of a sick, twisted individual considering what it's about, but it's a very unusual story that you don't get told. Usually, war stories you don't get the viewpoint of the just victim of the war. Um, you get the stories of more heroics and whatnot, and that's what made me love Grave of the Fireflies. It was a story that I felt that wasn't told that often. Um, and I mean, that is kind of why I went to go see. I think I saw Grave of the Fireflies before I saw Mononoke. But while I was working in the computer lab at my college, I would go and see it. Um, and then there was the announcement. It was like, oh, it's coming to the Richmond Theater. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go see this. I'm gonna go watch this film because artistically, I was stunned. I think myself and one of the professors of my classes were the only ones in college that really wanted to go see that film. Everybody else was kind of like, yeah, it's an animated film. Oh, it's a kiddie film. It's like this ain't a kiddie film. Um, which newsflash, Mononoke is not a kids film. Do not give that to your kids to watch. Um, I mean, if nothing else, you see limbs flying off from the first 10 minutes of the movie. So do not let your kids watch that film. Um, but it is still a film masterpiece. Would I like to see newer Mononoke? I don't know. Or, I mean, not Mononoke, Ghibli films. I've not watched, I know the new one, Earwig. I've not watched Earwig. I've not even watched most of the more recent films since Arrietty. Um, so, I mean, I don't know. Um, I don't have an objection to them. I just haven't watched them. Uh, I would like to see them, but I'm not going to run and get myself a copy. I think the only film that I really wanted to see or really enjoy and regret that I don't have a copy of out of Ghibli is Whispers of the Heart. It is probably one of my favorite films and that they've done, and it's because it's such a unique just slice of life story. And to see Ghibli do a slice of life was just interesting to me. Um, I do enjoy some slice of life anime. There are good ones and bad ones, but I mean, I like them. Let's see. I think I'm doing the feet right. A bit. Let's do the toes a bit better. I don't. I think I can do better on the feet. We'll do a curve to the toes because it looks like they're a little bit more curved. All right. bring a curve in here. Curve in. Again, using that curve tool. And actually, that one should be going in down here. Curve tool. And curve tool. We'll do line here. Segment here. And line connecting there. Line connecting there. All right, let's see here. Just sort of segmented here. So we're going to do a little bit here. Over. And we'll say segment about halfway on these toes. And there we go. I've kind of taken a week off from drawing this week, so those that are catching in through Patreon or following me through other things, you may have noted there was no live or no Demon Blade this week publicly, and it's partly because I've been falling behind. I've been trying to do some things in life, including physical therapy and finding work that have taken over. And I also took some time just to de-stress, which I haven't done in about 2 to 3 months. Pretty much since I came out of the hospital, I haven't really de-stressed. Last. So, I mean, it's important to take some time. And so that's what I did. I spent most of the time doing the leveling up for the gaming stream, which if you have not been following, yes, I do a gaming stream about probably Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays right now. That can change at any time, especially if I get some new work that, takes obligation. That I'll probably schedule when we'll do it, and it might be evenings. But right now we're doing a vote because we just finished up Final Fantasy V on the gaming stream Friday. I was not expecting to finish, honestly, but we did because this was a game that I had never beaten. So I did not know when it would end, but we ended it. So yeah, we beat that game, and right now we've got a poll going on DeviantArt, EmbryoArt's DeviantArt page. So if you go to DeviantArt/EmbryoArt, you can take a vote in the poll of what we play next. Current leader is currently Stardew Valley Expanded. So that is the Stardew Valley with mods. I have played Stardew Valley a lot. It is probably my go-to sort of just relaxing game. And so playing Expanded, I've played part of it once. I know a bit of what's going on. I don't know where I'm going to take it and what I'll focus on. um, or even who the marriage candidate is. I probably will leave the viewers to vote on marriage candidate, um, as well as other things. I do love those types of games, but also on the list is Fallout 4, Disgaea, um, GTA 5, and Skyrim and Sims 4. Most of those I've not completed. I've played them a lot. I've not completed. Will I offer them with mods? Will I, will we throw in other things? Sims 4, I have expansion packs. So, I mean, that's that. And we probably just play out a story or something with the characters. But the others, it's anybody's guess as to where we go from those. But the decision will be made on Monday as to what we play. And like I said, it's looking kind of solidly like it's going to be the Stardew Valley with the expanded mods, which I have, I have a good idea of where we can go with it and what we can do. So I think our goal likely for there is going to be to have a kid. To raise a family, have a kid, have a successful farm in about 2 years. I probably will do a lot of gaming off stream just to get some of the dates up, and we'll do the events around the streams. So now we're going to do some coloring. His coloring scheme seems to be matching in certain spots. So his tail, his glass, and his little neck piece here all have the same highlights and shadows. I'm going to select that. I'm going to take the circle tool and I'm going to try and get that sort of circle that they've got going in there. So we're going to do a circle that reaches down here. All right. And it's going to do the same sort of over here. So we're going to go just do a circle over here. We'll do the dark of his eyes first, which is this brownish color. Well, it's orange actually. So let's see if we can get that orange. There we go. And it comes up with this lighter yellow. We'll bring that in over here. Do a line here. And it's fairly white, so it actually is white. And that's the difference in color things with most art and whatnot. You don't want a straight black, but you will do a white or an off-white pretty easily. Sometimes because it's just quicker and easier to draw that. You just do the shadows and whatnot. I'm going to try and get the base color here for the metal parts. And then we'll work on the shadows as we go. See, we've got a segment there where we're sliding through, so. And let's see here. Bring that on over. Grab that spot. And I see our little tiny spot here. There we go. Now the gray along here and along the tail are different. So we're going to go with that gray to work from. Just as I'm going to do that, that's our sort of warm gray to work out from on the helmet. We'll do a darker red here. Get this pink tongue. His white fang. His dark red mouth. So, I mean, it's going to be right in there. Orangish yellow hue, it looks like. We're going to get that white of his knee. And then we want to get that gray. Just got to wait on the system to update. There we go. So there we have our base. I'm going to work from there. So we're going to start on trying to finish with the eyes. We're going to add his shadow, which is this color right here. And it looks like the shadow sort of goes along his eyes from his helmet. So let's actually say down here. And that actually looks to go down deeper. So they have a very strong sort of highlights. It's not an airbrushed highlight. It is a very inked in highlight on the eye. All right. We'll do this sort of rubber pieces here. Get our darker colors in here. So I'm going to just get a soft brush. And I'm just going to kind of give a little, sort of go in through there and give a little bit of hint. But I'm going to keep doing stronger towards the darker colors. Because it's stronger towards the darker, especially on these pieces here. We get it darker here. And then with the helmet, we're going to definitely want to do a lighter tone as we go to a point, because we want to kind of give the sense of roundness of the helmet. So we'll actually do the helmet next. This is also going to be a point of airbrushing. We want to get the darker red in here. We're going to go on dark and work our way to the light spots. So we're going to follow that sort of line that we've started. Give a shadow underneath the parts here. And just kind of lighten this up a little bit, but round it off as we go. Just to kind of give a roundness to it. And I'm going to do a little bit of a dent shadow on the cuff here before I come back over with white. And that's just going to help it pop a little bit. And I'm going to do a slight bit of a blur tool just to kind of blend that in there. Well, actually, let's do the blend tool. Bigger brush here. Just to kind of bring that color in. And lastly, we have a off-white here, a reddish pink, big old spot that we need to do right here. And I think we need to do also a little bit on the horns. Now we're going to do the glass, and I'm going to do both of these at the same time. We're going to have a little highlight going into the darkness spot, so we're just going to go a little bit of that. Same here, a little bit of that. And then we're going to do blending tools. Let's see, because I want to blend these in. Well, not blend, let's do blur. Let's get the blur in here and just sort of make it a softer circle, so it's not a harsh color change. And then we add in a harsh ink white. These are almost hard highlights. Then we're going to go on this fur or skin whatever it is. And we're going to do the shadows on here. I'd say we do in the highlights, but his fur being white, it's going to be only shadow. I just want to do the white part. We can work out from there. Now the color is going to be the same as when we did the eyes as far as the shadow, so we're going to just continue that. We'll take our brush tool back down, and we're going to do, say, round about here. And then, because it's up here, we're going to go around here to, say, right here with a little bit from underneath his collar. Just try and keep his collar sort of a pattern, mimicking it. Doesn't need to be exact, just needs to be sort of mimic. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a shadow over here. Little shadow here. It's going to continue over into here. And lastly, a shadow down there. So, now that we've got those lines, see, we didn't close that up, so that left open. And that's not the right one. That needs to be there. There, 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 there. Close it up. All right. Next, I want to get the yellow darkness spots going. So we're going to get that. So we're going to continue the pattern. Just a little bit there. Next, I'll do these and these little nidbits here in his helmet. So we're going to, with the metal around the glass, we have already established the dark. I kind of want to just do an airbrush, light, but using a hard brush, but doing a light tone around, circle around it. So we're just going to kind of hit spots. I think we need to do a better light here because it's mimicking this gray a little too much. There we go. So, yeah, we have spots we just want to kind of go around. The outside a little bit. And then after we get about midway, we want it inside. Like that. With the tail, it's going to be a bit different. We actually do have a darker tone, but we also have the lighter tone. Lighter tone comes in on here and right here. The darker tone, which is right there, is going to come in down here and over here. And then we're just going to hit. This is why we use the harsher brush. We're going to just hit a little bit around that edge. still need to do those nib bits. Now these seem to be a little bit different. There's only the darker tone. I don't see a highlight really in these. I see a spot we didn't color, though, on him. Select, deselect. Now you could do these. In fact, I'm going to do this metal pieces of the foot and the hands. I'm going to do that on a different layer. So the highlights and shadows and all that, I'm going to be doing on a different layer. The reason I want to do that is it's going to be a bit more of a challenge than these more direct parts. So I'm going to select all of them bit by bit. So we're just doing the slow run through selection. Make sure we got everything. Kind of looks like it. All right. Now, we've got another layer right here. So we switch on over to our other layer. Actually, I'm going to minimize this here. There we go. Because I don't need tools. Wait for an update here. It's just saving its progress. All right, now the more prominent color is this darker gray. So we're going to use the hard brush like we did before. And we're going to focus first on the darker gray. And we're just going to try and inundate crevices of the foot. Because it's going to be inundated here. And the hand. But we want to kind of keep a cylindrical look. So that's going to be the catch. And that is why I'm doing this on a different layer. And using the harsh brush because I want to make sure we're keeping fairly cylindrical. In fact, I'm going to do a second layer. And we're going to hit a few spots like this, that, and actually, well, that one's not going to work there. But there, there, there. That one won't work either. There. Just trying to hit some spots that are going to be permanently dark. So I don't want to make them have any light to them. And when you're doing metals, you have a choice between the French gray and the cool grays. Right here, this is a cool gray, but in these two parts, that's a French gray. It is for a warmer gray. If you were to say where they come from, French gray tends to be a red to pink use, whereas the cooler grays tend to be from a blue or purple. In the sense of the tones or structure. And they add elements basically of sort of a hint of 3D to a thing. So, I mean, in this case, we want to have a harsher airbrush moments where we're going to do highlights. So I'm going to be doing like highlight here. Actually, hold on. I don't want to be doing that on that layer. I want to do it on this layer. And the reason being is I can go over and do the darker tone in some of it and make it more steady look. So you can see I can't affect that on this layer. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this. So we're going to be able to do a highlight here. Little bit of highlight on the toes. Well, let's see how the toes are done here, actually. Yeah, literally just a little bit. And if I want a stronger one, I'll even go smaller and just be like, this is going to be our stronger highlight right here. Now let's try and go a bit darker in spots if we can. Well, we'll do it by going actually darker in the tones. So see, yeah, cool. This is a blue-gray. So we're going to go down here into the darker range. And we're going to get a shadow out of this. We kind of want to get. And actually, yeah, that's probably better there. Trying to get a shadow. Well, it's a little too dark. Let's actually go slightly above that. There we go. There. It's a little bit better. And that'll go there. We'll see a little bit of that shadow over that finger. A larger amount right under that finger. Bring that shadow there. We need to do a little bit there. Let's add a little shadow in there and here. And a little bit of shadow on the foot. Because this is supposed to be under him a bit, so the shadow would definitely come in a bit more. little bit here, not much, because it's supposed to be he's putting his foot forward. And then we're going to go back up to the layer that we did earlier. Let's see here. And this is where we're going to really bring out those segments. Let's see, we need to fix that. I think this was the other one that was problematic. Yep. And I'm actually going to erase this one because I'm going to do that by hand. But we want to go in over here on these two that we can't finish, and we're going to do it with our ink pen. Oh, wrong color. Ink pen. There we go. Just kind of finish them off. Like that. And because I want to do a bit of difference in the wrists, I'm going to make this dark. Put this shadow down in here. And actually, this is probably where that dark shadow really should come into play. And then we'll go in with the lighter gray here. And that highlight, we're going to do a little bit of a stronger highlight here. Maybe do a little bit right in there. We want to make sure we don't bleed into this part. So now we'll do that. See, I already screwed it up. I did that on the wrong layer. So let's do another layer just of the dark here. No, of the dark. There we go. And a layer of the, nope, too much there. Dark right there. And there we go. I think we've got a pretty good look now. So we can do select, deselect, and yeah. I think we got a good look on there. Let's actually edit. Copy. Actually, we'll just duplicate layer. I want to get a little bit of an outline going here. So what I want to do, monochrome. But I'm going to erase the head because I don't want the head. I just want to make sure the outline shows well on the metal parts. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a monochrome overlay. So we'll just do that. And where is it? Let's say screen, maybe. No. Overlay. No, not really overlay. Let's just darken. That didn't really do it. So let's see. Color burn. That's better. Yeah, color burn did it. So that just gave us sort of more of the dark highlights out, and I'm going to fix the headband here and the tail here because they're a little bit off. But at least makes the hands and feet pop a little bit better. So there we go. Let's go ahead and remove the little references we had. Hide the sketching. Oh wait, let me fix right here on this layer. And right here. And there we go. In 2 hours, we have Appmon. So, well, approximately 2 hours. From sketch to full-on drawing. So, there we go. Let me just sign it. And if you, as always, if you want to request something for our Dining the Doodles drawings every Saturday, you can leave a comment on the video. You can comment us on any other social media, messaging, or any other means. We will be happy to get to you on that. But let's get on with today's sponsor. And that sponsor, as always these days, is Built Bar. Right now I have a mint brownie, which is the one actually pictured in the picture there. Right in front of me. I love these. I absolutely adore them. If you've been following the game streams like I was talking about earlier, you may have heard me bite into them and eat away at them while I work on the games. It is a wonderful replacement for candy bars, especially if you have a sugar problem. They are also good protein bars. They have a high protein, low sugar, high fiber, low calorie protein bar, and they taste amazing because that is what they focus on first. What Built Bar designs is the flavor first, and it shows. There are multiple flavors. They come out with new flavors almost like every week. They'll come out with new flavors or new items. So absolutely go to built.com and use the promo code EmbryoArts to get a 10% off your entire order. That's built.com, promo code EmbryoArts, and you will not regret it. These are absolutely delicious. I live by these. These are a product that I asked to be a promotional tool on these streams, and they deliver. And they deliver in spades all the time. So, once again, that's built.com. EmbryoArts is the promo code to get 10% off your order. And as always, I will see you again next week with the next live drawing request. We have, I think, another masking request next week. So I hope you all enjoy your weekend, enjoy the day, enjoy the evening, and enjoy the week.